Okay, so we have drawn the sun and moon folk art, we've Sharpie traced it, and now it is at last time to color it. Please feel free to use crayons, colored pencils, whatever you have at home, your favorite art supplies that you like to color with. I'm going to start with markers, and I'm going to start with a yellow. So that means I'm using warm colors, which we learned about, and I'm going to use only warm colors on the right side of the artwork. Warm colors are colors that, just like what they sound like, give people a sense of warmth and energy. So colors like yellow, orange, red, pink, and even brown are all warm colors. So I'm going to start with this yellow, and I'm going to use my craftsmanship to make sure that I've done a very thorough job coloring everything in. I don't want any of the white paper showing through at all. So as I color, I'm going to make sure that I get every single little bit because I want a high quality piece of artwork. And as you have already noticed, I'm sure, the video is in fast forward motion. So I don't expect you to go at this speed, certainly, but I do expect for you to give it your very best effort. Okay, so now moving on to the lips, and I'm going to use pink because that is also a warm color. And then I'm going to color in the iris red. And I'm going to continue on with the background elements. I decided on orange for these in-between spaces. All of these areas that are on either side of those drinking straws that we talked about last rotation, and also the wiggly lines. So this part also is going to take some time, and I'm going to repeat some advice that I gave you last rotation. Namely, the fact that every few minutes, it's a really good idea for you to take a break. If your hand gets tired, that means you need to stop. Your hand is telling you that it needs a break. So, every few minutes, it's a great idea to put all of your markers, your colored pencils, your crayons, whatever you happen to be using, put it down, kind of shake your hand out, rub it a little bit if you need to. Give yourself a rest. Art should not be painful. So, I want you to kind of take a break every once in a while, and then, get back to it as soon as you can. This amazing masterpiece that you're working on does require a lot of color because we're coloring in the main characters, which are the sun and the moon, and we're also coloring in the backgrounds, and we're using an emphasis on warm and cool colors. So it's going to take some patience. So I want you to be patient with this artwork because I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing how everybody did and what colors everyone used. Because as you may already know, you do not have to use the same colors I'm using. You just have to use warm colors on the right side of your artwork. So your background could be pink. It could be yellow. You get to choose as long as it's warm, a warm color. So I want you to, really think it through. What colors do you think would look best? Are they the colors that I'm using, or do you have a different idea? And if you do, I definitely want to encourage you to go for it. Okay, so I'm still going, and with this orange marker, I want to make sure that for the larger areas, I can tilt the marker diagonally and use the diagonal edge of the tip to cover more space. But then, when I want to get all up into those nooks and crannies, those really small areas, I'm going to hold my marker straight up and down. It also might be a good idea that if you're trying to get into smaller areas, there are thick and thin markers, which I'm sure everybody knows. Use those thin markers. They're pretty much the exact same color, and they could save you a lot of effort and a lot of time. Okay, so now I'm getting into those wavy lines, and I'm going to use two different colors on these wavy lines. On the top sides, I'm going to color it in yellow, but then on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and fill it in with pink, because having yellow and pink right next to each other would really kind of pull the colors out from the artwork and make them really shine brightly. And as you can see, the overall effect of everything is that the right side, it seems like a really hot day. I think that orange makes the sky appear to be very humid. Okay, so now it's time for me to get started with the moon. So on the left side of our artwork, we are going to be using only cool colors. cool colors that kind of give you a sense of relaxation and calm and peace. Kind of like what you might feel at nighttime when you're looking at the bright moon in the sky and maybe it's almost bedtime. You get that sense of quiet and calm and still. So that's why we're using cool colors on the side of the moon. I started with the teal, and then for the lips I used that nice light blue. I'm kind of wondering at this point, maybe I could have used crayons because crayons offer a much greater variety of colors. So maybe if I do this again, I'll try it with crayon, but for right now, I'm definitely going to stick with marker. And speaking of marker, I'm going to jump over to this purple. What's really interesting here is that these two purple colors that I'm using to surround the moon, I don't know if you can tell, but they're very slightly different. The one that I just finished using is a light purple, and the other one is a regular purple, and you can kind of see the difference. Alright, now I'm going to jump back to this really light Kermit the Frog kind of green, which is going to outline this purple curved line that I made for myself. So I'm going in between the circles, which takes a little bit more concentration, a little bit more careful effort, but definitely worth it. Do your best, do your best, do your best. Pretty much the same thing I say every rotation. And that's because it's important to artists to do their best. Their artwork looks best when you go slow, take your time, and give it your best effort. Okay, so then after I've completed that area, I'm going to go in and very carefully color in the circles a regular blue. This marker starts to run out toward the end, so I think I'm going to turn this one into watercolors. Remember we talked about how you can use old markers for watercolors? Well, that's definitely going to happen with that blue. Now I'm going to switch it up. I have these really awesome Prismacolor markers. They're very expensive, but they blend very, very well. So I'm going to use this lavender. Lavender is a very, very light purple, and I'm going to cover up this wavy line area, moving carefully around the triangles, making sure I don't accidentally color in there. And of course, if you do have any accidents, they're going to be happy accidents. Just work with it. Put another color on top in case you accidentally colored on top of it. Alright, then we're going to go to this kind of electric blue to fill in the triangles. Next up, I'm going to grab it's kind of like a sea foam green. It's not quite true green, but it's kind of like a creamy green, like pistachio ice cream. Then I'm going to go with a lime green all the way around the stars. And again, remember, most markers have it's called a chisel tip. It's like a little triangular tip. If you tilt your marker diagonally, you can use the flat edge of that chisel tip to color in wider areas, or if you hold the marker straight up and down, you can use it to color in smaller areas. Now, I want you to remember that after you're done with this masterpiece, take a picture of it, upload it to Schoology so that you don't have to worry about it later. If it takes you a little bit longer because you're putting a little bit more effort into it, that's totally okay. Remember, it's not due until the beginning of next rotation. Okay, we're just wrapping this up. I used a teal to fill in these triangles and a regular green for the other side of the triangles, which I think play off well with each other, still keeping with the blues. And finally a light blue for the corners, and there you have it. You've got a warm, cool moon and sun masterpiece of folk art. Great job, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.